Sean, we know what's going on here. It's very simple. It's the same thing that's been happening for the last 3.5 years. They're panicking, and the only thing they do is go to radical left judges that want to make a name for themselves to stop the executive branch for doing exactly what was mandated to do on November 5th when we swept the nation.
New York Mayor Eric Adams takes a huge step to help Tom Homan as investigations into him go deeper. The Department of Government Efficiency is hitting the Democrats where it hurts. Elon Musk makes a shocking discovery with regards to an underground mine used by the government, and President Donald Trump calls out CNN as the press laughs at one of their top anchors.
Is the president happy with the number of arrests?
I'm not. The arrests, if you look at the arrests in the interior enforcement, about 3 times higher than a year ago today. 3 times higher is good, but I'm not satisfied.
Borders are Tom Homan asked for more funding to get more deportations done. Woke Democratic Representative AOC may have just committed a crime by teaching illegal aliens how to evade ICE. RFK Jr. just got confirmed, which has Democrats completely pissed off. And Hakeem Jeffries responds to AG Pam Bondi's charges against the state of New York. Now, you guys might remember that Caitlin Collins hasn't been the kindest of reporters to President Trump, right? I mean, she's been dubbed as a nasty person by President Trump himself before. And it shows with the way that she handles herself whenever she's talking to him. Now, I don't know what's wrong with this girl. A lot of people say she looks like a dude. I'm not even trying to get into that, but either that or whenever she's addressing White House press secretary, she's just got this RBF. She just looks so angry. And it's like she's trying to attack them with her words. So here's Caitlin Collins asking Carolyn Levitt, who is miles better than Corinne Jean-Pierre, if you guys agree, let me know, about the Associated Press reporter being barred from the White House.
Which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because the reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is.
Now, while this might seem like a crazy concept to Caitlin Collins of CNN, it's one that's not uncommon, which brings me to DOGE and a crazy discovery that they made in Pennsylvania. Watch.
There's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down and then, sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this.
Wow. Now, a group of anonymous employees told the Butler Eagle from the Office of Personnel Management that they don't have an elevator, but nonetheless, look at these pictures. This is stunning. All of the paperwork stored right here. It looks like a time warp. And you can see inside this facility, these massive columns of limestone that's holding it all up. Millions of paper files are stored right here. And according to DOGE, every month, the facility takes about 10,000 applications for retirements and then sorts through them entirely by hand. Now, it's unbelievable that the government of the world's foremost superpower processes retirement applications 230 feet underground. There's one person who is not surprised by it, and he's sitting in the middle of our couch, and his name is Jason Chaffetz.
I got to tell you, there are a lot of storage facilities like this, and corporate America uses them all the time. But the idea that you have to do this by hand, that it's not automated, is ridiculous. Right. Elon Musk is 110% right. But if you want a secure facility that is temperature controlled, impervious to people getting in, a lot of caves are used throughout the country for corporate America. But this is not the first. Elon Musk, welcome to the show, because we've been talking about this for a while.
It's not just inefficient to work like this, it's going to be affected by DOGE. Now, think about this for a second. Democrats will have a tough time saying no to this funding, especially since we send around the same amount to Ukraine to have them protect their borders. But besides the issue with the money, there are those who choose to go against these deportations. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is getting criticized for hosting a webinar that teaches illegal immigrants ways to avoid ICE. But even worse, they're exposing the tactics that ICE agents have been using in New York. Watch.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is asking immigrants in her district to sign a privacy release form so her office can intervene if they're picked up by ICE. The release is part of a broader effort by Ocasio-Cortez and other Democratic members of Congress to inform immigrants about their rights as the Trump administration ramps up deportation operations. The lawmaker's website states, if you or a loved one has an open order of removal or are worried about getting picked up by ICE, please complete this DHS privacy release form so our office can intervene. Know that you have rights, including access to a lawyer. Ocasio-Cortez's office is hosting a webinar Wednesday night to teach constituents what to do if they're confronted by ICE. She and other members also have resources and information available on their website, including a list of pro bono attorneys. Congressional offices can provide immigration casework assistance to constituents who have an open case. That usually involves submitting inquiries to federal agencies about the status of the case, but it's limited to asylum, DACA and TPS, naturalization, and visa applications. Other members of Congress who are providing advice to immigrants include Congresswomen Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Omar's Know Your Rights page states, sadly, our nation's immigration system is fundamentally unjust and tragically inhumane. Instead of extending humanity and compassion to migrants and refugees, our country often treats them like criminals. This has only been exacerbated by President Donald Trump and his administration. The representatives say when confronted by ICE, immigrants do not have to open the door unless officers have a warrant, do not have to share personal information, including immigration status, should not sign anything before consulting with an attorney, should not lie, and can stay silent.
This webinar of AOC's was titled Know Your Rights with ICE. It was a virtual event that was held on her Facebook page. And while she wasn't in the webinar itself, the Congresswoman was on Instagram sharing tips in both English and in Spanish. And in a post, AOC wrote this: our strategic advantage in this moment is our strength in numbers. It is time to use it. In nearly every way, we outnumber those who want to abuse their power and keep people in fear. The truth is, they cannot come after all of us. That is why they actively use and create fear to get us to give up in advance and withdraw from public life without them lifting a finger. She adds that if ICE ever comes to the workplace or home of illegal immigrants, they would be able to defend themselves by using the Constitution and exercising their rights. She's getting a ton of backlash on this because she's saying as if illegal immigrants actually have the same rights as U.S. citizens. And to say that the American Constitution can be used to protect illegal immigrants from deportation is just really kind of pushing the narrative. It's really a dangerous game to play, and odds are that somebody's going to end up getting hurt because of AOC's words. So the more that these sanctuary cities want to keep criminals safe, the more they risk their own community, because we all know that ICE will do its job as intended. With the shackles of the previous administration now gone, they can now go ahead and do just that. However, they face another problem: money, something that Senator Lindsey Graham talked about just recently.
Now, what guides my thinking is the problem we have now. We're running out of money. So we had Tom Holman and Russ Vought speak to the conference today, and I'm urging the speaker to invite them over and let them tell the House what they told us. Tom Holman said, I am begging you for money. Russ Vought said that we're running out of money for ICE. We can't rob other accounts any longer. Why do we need this money? There are 300,000 children that are missing we want to find. The sooner we can find them, will end their abuse. And they're being abused while I speak. So to the American people, if you want your government to track down these 300,000 immigrant children that are missing, we need more money to do it. To the American people, if you'd like to finish the wall, we need more money to do it. If you want a more modern border, we need money to do it. If you believe that President Trump is right to track down and deport criminal aliens and clean up the mess that's been created over the last 4 years, we need more ICE agents. They gave us a summary of what $175 billion would do. It would be enough money for 4 years to implement President Trump's border agenda, immigration agenda on the security side. I am a fairly hawkish guy. I am telling you right now, I've never seen more threats to our nation than I do right now.
Guys, appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. But let's go and get things started with Tom Homan and their efforts to keep our borders safe. Watch.
There's more criminal aliens that need to be arrested, hundreds of thousands. Sanctuary cities are putting roadblocks up. We got leaks. So we need to increase the arrest of illegal aliens, especially those with criminal convictions. So we're going to continue. So 3 times higher is good. The numbers are good. For me, not good enough. We got to get more.
Mr. Homan, what's your message for the sanctuary cities you just said we're putting up roadblocks? Do you have a message for them for Chicago, for example?
Attorney General Pam Bonnie's going to investigate them. We're going to hold them accountable. Sanctuaries are sanctuary criminals. End of story. They're sanctuary for criminals. Let us in the county jail to arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of the county jail. It's safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, it's certainly safer for the community. Any sanctuary city that purposely released public safety threats back into public is stupid. I mean, let us arrest the bad guy in the jail, because what the sanctuary cities are seeing, I've already seen the stories. Non-criminals are being arrested at a higher rate, and they're going to keep being arrested at a higher rate, because we can't arrest that bad guy in the jail. We got to go to the community. When we go in the community, we're going to find the bad guy. When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that aren't a criminal priority, but they're going to get arrested too. We're not going to tell ICE agents, ignore the oath you took, ignore the laws of immigration enforcement, just arrest a criminal. No, we're taking everybody. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the neighborhoods and more non-criminals being arrested, because they forced us in the community.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Now, moving on, guys, Democrats are having full-blown meltdowns as RFK Jr. just got confirmed as our next health secretary. So Kennedy has faced a lot of scrutiny for his past comments on different scientific topics, one of which was vaccines. And this fight from the Democratic Party, it really didn't come cheap. Reports show that they've spent more than $1 million to try and block RFK Jr. from becoming the secretary of the HHS.
So many times during my campaign, traveling across the country, I sense that people are feeling disconnected. We have a whole generation of kids that feels alienated, dispossessed. They are in a existential crisis, not only because their health is, 77% of our kids can't qualify for military service. There's a purposelessness in their lives and no sense of usefulness or effectiveness or connectedness to their communities.
One Republican, if you can call him that, who voted against Kennedy was Mitch McConnell. He voted against him, and he had this to say: "In my lifetime, I've watched vaccines save millions of lives from devastating diseases across America and around the world. I will not condone the re-litigation of proven cures, and neither will millions of Americans who credit their survival and quality of life to scientific miracles. What Mitch McConnell doesn't realize is that people don't trust Big Pharma. That's the problem. At least not anymore, as we've been kept in the dark for the longest of time. And when we asked for transparency during the pandemic, we got punished. just for asking questions. So it's no surprise that a majority of Americans trust in RFK Jr. more than they do these big pharma companies. Now, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, he made some noise recently. This is in line with U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi's charges against New York. This includes the likes of Letitia James and Kathy Hochul, governor of New York City or governor of New York State. Now, Pam Bondi says that those who interfere with the work of ICE will be subject to charges. So here's what he had to say about that.
In regards to Attorney General Pam Bondi's announcement yesterday, I want to get your perspective on the Department of Justice lawsuit against Governor Hochul, and what role do you think, if not just the New York congressional delegation, but Democrats in general, what kind of role do you think you need to play in addressing the tensions between state and federal immigration policies if they're going to overreach like this?
I have not had the opportunity to speak with Governor Hochul about this issue or Attorney General Tish James, but I expect that there will be a forceful response to this overreach by the Department of Justice. We will not be intimidated at all, ever, by the Trump administration and anything that these far-right extremists attempt to do to hurt New Yorkers or hurt the American people. We will not be intimidated. What in our record suggests, particularly as it relates to the House of Representatives, that this crowd over there will intimidate us? What in our record suggests that? What in 2017? What in 2018? What in 2019? What in 2020? What in 2021? What in 2022? What this year suggests that House Democrats are going to be intimidated by any of the extremism that is coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? We're going to push back. We're going to push back forcefully. We will certainly defend the people of the great state of New York and the American people.
I'm not sure if he's aware, but the target of deportations would be illegal immigrants, not American citizens. And I think this is something that they get confused on purpose a lot, because their message is that they want to protect us. But in reality, they're protecting illegal immigrants, none of which are American citizens. So he'd rather go against federal law than protect the country? Sounds like treason to me. War between Russia and the Ukraine shouldn't have started, arguing that the previous administration allowed this conflict to happen.
And this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen. I know he's a friend of yours.
But couldn't Putin just withdraw his
He's a friend of
today?
CNN. That's why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have no credibility. Okay, who else?
Think about this for a second, guys. Former Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz both chose which news outlets that they're going to appear on. They knowingly chose more left-leaning outlets, and they clearly avoided the likes of Fox News. The White House press corps has both sides of the aisle present. And as you guys saw, Caitlin Collins, who represents CNN, is right at the front. And while it's easy to say that the Associated Press is being withheld of their freedom, it's also fair that the truth be universal, meaning that the White House will stick to the facts and will expect the press to do the same. Not doing so will result in them being reprimanded, or in this case, barred from the Oval Office. Alina Habba recently went on Fox News to tell us exactly why some lawmakers are scared.
If we want to save money, people are going to get upset. Why are they getting upset? Because we're taking money out of their pockets. The best thing that Elon Musk is going to do is going to look at people's salaries and say, okay, if you make X amount of money and you're worth $68 million, we're going to look at why that is. And that's really the bottom line, because we could talk about everything, every executive order, but there is a panic in D.C. at this moment where I now live, and it is very simple. We are cutting them off from their funding. And that means politicians, not just saving taxpayer dollars. And that's where the panic is coming from. It's pretty basic.
And this concern has been with us for decades, seeing politicians come into office and make millions of dollars within just a few years, and we never understood why. But of course, we need to see this from the perspective of left-leaning news outlets as well. CNN's Kate Bolden challenged Scott Jennings about DOGE, arguing that there's no transparency, even though Scott Jennings clearly proves her wrong here. Watch.
He's not been transparent. I mean, there may be...
They are making routine announcements about the things they are finding, and they are inviting questions about the things they are finding every single day.
But by definition, he's not being transparent. They're not providing data for the things that they say they have found evidence of. They just aren't. there is.
The White House has provided.
You can make announcements, and he also did admit that he actually.
So you just don't believe it. I mean, they are providing information. You just choose not to believe that it's true.
This could just be simple Trump derangement syndrome, also known as TDS. Unfortunately, there's no cure for this. And just because Elon Musk is working for the president, the derangement is passed on. But it's pretty clear that these liberals have a truth of their own. Even when you present them with the facts, they will continue to believe their own truth. Now, while a lot of Democrats are not willing to work with the Trump administration, some are choosing against the grain. One of which is New York Mayor Eric Adams.
A big win for President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. ICE will soon be allowed to operate within New York City. The announcement coming after a meeting between Mayor Eric Adams and the president's border czar, Tom Homan. In a statement, the mayor says he's working on getting more NYPD detectives on federal task forces that are looking to nab those violent offenders within the city. News Nation's Alicia Nieves has more from New York. Alicia, was the mayor happy with how this meeting turned out?
Yeah, good morning, Marky. That meeting actually happened just behind me at ICE headquarters here yesterday. The mayor left it saying that he thought it was productive. He also said that he does not want a war with the Trump administration. Rather, he does want to work with it, kind of going against the historical norms, if you would, here in this city. But wanting to work with the Trump administration so much so that he says he now plans, Mayor Adams, to issue an executive order to override sanctuary city laws that prohibit U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, or ICE officials, from operating within city facilities. He noted part of the plan discussed with the border czar is to reopen ICE offices on Rikers Island jail complex to detain illegal migrants there, specifically those who are released from Rikers for violent crimes. He also then discussed, as you noted, ways to embed the actual police department, NYPD detectives, into federal task force focusing on violent gangs and criminal activity here in the city.
And I've been very clear on sanctuaries, cities that we must adjust. The previous administration implemented, and I think went too far with sanctuary cities. I thought the intention was there, but the application was wrong. And I asked the city council, can we modify it when it comes down to dangerous individuals? They said they refused to do so. So we need to operate in the parameters that we have.
It's kind of rich how Democrats now want to abide by the rules when the tides don't favor them. This kind of reminds me of a previous live stream I did where Democrats who are literally calling for Elon Musk to show up, with some of them even inciting violence against the billionaire and the Trump administration. Make sure you guys check that one out because it's getting crazy out there. As always, thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, for sharing the video. We'll see you guys next time.